One gorilla versus 100 men. This is the question that's been circling the internet lately. I thought I'd make a video about it, but I'm going to put a martial arts twist on it. I'm going to say, how many martial artists would it take to beat a gorilla? This question is a pretty open question. I feel like it depends on a lot of factors. Obviously, weight is a big factor, weight of the person and the gorilla, amount of training that the person has had, and obviously also the tactics that the people would use to take on this gorilla. I don't know why I'm making a video on this, it just came to my head, so I thought I would discuss it. I'll try not to rinse it though, because some people, I made a short about this and some people were commenting, why am I making brain rot content? I don't think it's brain rot content. I think it's a globally discussed topic. It's a very relevant event in social media recently. Obviously, one of the biggest factors of whether people would beat the gorilla is if they've tried my flexibility program, you know, because if they've got their kicks high and their hips are open and mobile, then they're going to have a better chance of beating the gorilla. So if you want to have that increased flexibility, then go ahead to the first link in the description of this video. I promise you will see results and your kicks will go to the next level. Okay, so our first topic of discussion with this debate is, what is the size of the people and what is the size of the gorilla? Because you could say if you took 100 really massive men and one tiny gorilla, then the men would absolutely destroy the gorilla. So I thought the best way to do this would be to get the average weight of a person, of a man, and the average gorilla, and then we'll compare those. So it says here the average height for a man is 5'9" and the average weight for a man is about 200 pounds. So a 200 pound man, wait, that's quite heavy, isn't it? To be for average. Because I'm 6 foot and 180 pounds, and I'm not small. So 5'9" and 200 pounds. What is that? Where is that? Is that in the US or something? Oh, it isn't. Okay, yes, the US. That makes a bit more sense, I guess. But nevertheless, we'll run with it. So 200 pounds, 5'9". Now we'll go to the gorilla. The average height of an adult male gorilla when standing upright is 4'7" to 5'11". So to be honest, probably pretty similar height to the man, and they can weigh between 136 and 227 kg, which is 300 to 500 pounds. So they're a lot heavier. So they're on average probably about double the weight. Yeah, about double the weight, we'll say. So similar height, double the weight, and obviously they're absolutely pure muscle, because I heard that apparently their body fat percentage can go down to like 5%, which is like bodybuilder type body fat percentage. And they're athletic, and they weigh double the amount as a man. So they are just pure muscle. They're absolutely powerhouses. And I also saw today on TikTok that apparently they can actually bench press up to like 5,000 pounds, but that does seem really unrealistic. I know they're strong, but that is really, really strong. So for the sake of this experiment, we're going to say that it's the average sized man versus the average sized gorilla. And before we go into the martial artists, first of all, I'm going to tell you how many average men it would take to beat a gorilla without training. So in my opinion, obviously I know the debate is 100 men versus one gorilla. In my opinion, that's a bit of a no-brainer. I think even 100 average men would pretty comfortably take the gorilla down, in my opinion, because I think you forget how many people 100 is. Like if you put 100 people in a room, they wouldn't fit in an average room. You know, it's quite a lot of people. If you dedicate like 10 of those men to each limb, 10 men on one arm, 10 men on the other arm, 10 on one leg, 10 on the other, and that's 40 men gone. You've got 60 men to just beat on the gorilla. I honestly think that's quite an easy question. So I believe average people with no training, I think about 50 to 60 men would beat a gorilla, in my opinion. Now, that might be a hot take. Let me know if you think that's a hot take, but I think that is just enough to beat a gorilla. And obviously that's based on average size. I feel like if you went to the heavier end and the more muscular, not muscular, but okay, yeah, let's say that. If you went to the heavier and more muscular end of men, even without training, I think the number would go down to like maybe like 35, 40. If you had like the Brian Shaws, the Eddie Halls of the world, that would probably be even less. That would probably be like 15, 20. If you had, I would say 15 Brian Shaws would probably beat the gorilla. If that, maybe even 10. I'm gonna say 15. Anyway, we're going off track here. So martial artists. Now we're going down another rabbit hole, because this obviously depends on what martial art they train, whether they train striking or grappling or both. But we're going to say for this, that all the martial artists involved in this scrap with the gorilla are all above average MMA fighters. Or let's say average MMA fighters. So they've got a decent level of training to get to an average standard of MMA. So, you know, they're pretty well versed in everything. They can strike, they can grapple, they can go to the ground, they can wrestle, they can pretty much do everything. And we're going to say again that they're average weight. So we're going to say that they're about, I don't think 200 pounds is average weight. So I'm going to say about 160, 170 pounds, I would say is more of an average sort of human weight for a man anyway. Maybe 180, whatever. So I said 50 to 60 untrained men would take a gorilla down. If you add in the MMA training, I honestly think that number goes down to about 20. Because, you know, 20 fully grown, well-trained MMA fighters, I do think they would overpower the gorilla. I do think so. I think, because one of them could get him in an unbelievable chokehold. Others could grab their limbs, get him in arm bars and stuff, and then again the others could just beat him down. And obviously they're naturally going to be a bit stronger than the average person because of their training. Especially because of the grappling training that gives you that gorilla strength. Obviously they're going to be slicker, faster, more agile than the average person. They're going to have more power generally if they've trained it. Their strikes are going to be harder. They're going to know how to strike properly. Imagine you've got 5 men on each arm, 5 men on each leg, and you've got like 3 of them just... Imagine chucking in your strongest back kick on the gorilla and you've got like 4 men just charging back kicks at him. Honestly, I think that's a pretty deadly tactic. So in my opinion, 20 average-sized, average MMA fighters would take down the gorilla. Obviously, you can increase the skill level and then maybe the number will get slightly less, but we'll say average. But then, if you want to get into the heavier fighters, let's say you brought in 10 John Joneses, 10 Francis Ngannou's, 10 Brock Lesnar's, just for fun. I think 10 of those guys would take the gorilla down. Maybe I'm reaching a bit there. Maybe this is turning into a bit of a hot take, but basically I think 10 John Joneses would take the gorilla down, in my opinion. Definitely 10 Ngannou's, because he's got that raw strength and power. So that's my take on it. I think in the internet-wide debate currently, 100 men versus 1 gorilla, 100 men are taking that gorilla down fairly comfortably. So to end this absolutely stupid video, I'm going to say that I think 60 average men would beat a gorilla. Now in terms of martial artists, 20 averagely trained martial artists would take down the gorilla in my opinion. 10 world-class heavyweight MMA fighters I believe would take the gorilla down. And I think about 15 Brian Shaws would take the gorilla down probably. Or yeah, have a couple Brian Shaws, couple Eddie Halls in there. I reckon they'd take that gorilla down just out of the pure size and strength of those guys. But then you got to talk about like the other people that I haven't represented in this video, like bodybuilders, for example. The big guys, the muscular guys, the strong guys that have no martial arts training. How many of those would take it down? I would say it would take about 25 to 30 untrained bodybuilders, because they haven't got the skill. They don't know how to strike, but they do have that strength and they do have that size. Yeah, so I would say 25 to 30 bodybuilders, like proper bodybuilders would take one down without any MMA training. And 1 Brock Lesnar would beat a gorilla. No, I'm joking, maybe not. That's not that far. He's a bit of a beast, but he wouldn't beat a gorilla on his own. Chuck Norris wakes up and fights gorillas every day, so he's out of the question. But yeah, that's my answer to the internet's biggest question recently. I've no idea how long that video is. I just started rambling on for ages. But yeah, thank you for watching. Congratulations if you made it to this far in the video. Don't know how, because it's a pretty silly video. I haven't really done anything, but thank you for watching anyway. First link in the description of this video if you are interested in getting your kicks absolutely to the next level and improve them dramatically. Make your coach proud, make your peers impressed, make them all jealous. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Also, let me know if you did agree with me in this video. I want to know all of your opinions on this matter, on this big relevant question. See you in the next one.